Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. The hidden cross, exploring the mystery of the letter Tav. We are unpacking a truly fascinating concept today from the channel Codes in the Bible, which suggests there is a profound, intentional design woven directly into the original biblical languages. We're going to look at a linguistic and historical analysis of what was literally written down by ancient scribes.
So the source poses this incredibly captivating mystery to kick things off. Is there a cross intentionally hidden in the Old Testament? Was the shape of the Christian cross somehow embedded in these ancient texts thousands of years before the crucifixion even happened? According to the channel, there's a specific letter hiding in plain sight. And they argue that this isn't just about projecting later theology backward, but rather looking at the raw, undeniable history of the alphabet itself.
There is a stark visual contrast between the modern Hebrew letter Tav and its original Paleo-Hebrew form. If you were to open up a printed Hebrew Bible today, the last letter of the alphabet, the Tav, well, it looks pretty curved and rounded. But, and this is the crucial point the source emphasizes, before the Babylonian exile, in the original Paleo-Hebrew script, the Tav was drawn simply as two intersecting lines, a vertical stroke crossed by a horizontal stroke. It was, quite literally, a cross. And look, this isn't just some wild speculation. The channel traces solid archaeological evidence. We're talking 10th century BC pottery, ancient coins, to verify exactly how this script evolved over time. You see, in the earliest proto-Sinaitic scripts, letters were actual pictographs. They carried both phonetic sound and visual significance, acting as physical symbols of real-world concepts long before they morphed into the modern script we use today. So, in ancient times, this taf wasn't just a sound you made with your mouth. It visually represented a physical mark, an official seal, or a mark of completion. When someone needed to authenticate a document, claim ownership of something, or signify that a covenant was permanently sealed, the source explains they basically made this ancient equivalent of a final signature. The seal of truth, decoding the Hebrew word emet. Let's move to the source's first major case study to see how this builds a really profound theological concept. The host introduces us to the Hebrew word emet. Ancient scribes use this specific word over and over to describe God's absolute faithfulness. Now, this isn't just truth in the sense of, a factual trivia answer. It represents an eternal, unshakable reality. According to the analysis, it is the ultimate descriptor for divine reliability and unchanging character. And this brilliantly illustrates the source's main point. Spelling the word Ahmet is like seeing a giant puzzle fall into place. It starts with Aleph, the very first letter of the alphabet. It's anchored right in the exact middle by the letter Mim, and it finishes with Tav, the final letter. First, middle, and last. It covers the whole shebang. So for over 1,000 years, every single time an ancient scribe wrote about divine truth, they ended that word with a cross. The explainer impartially highlights a really mind-blowing fact here. Long before Christianity ever existed, ancient Talmudic rabbis recognized this specific word as God's authenticating signature. Ancient Jewish thought considered emet to be the literal seal of the Holy One. It's a linguistic structure that essentially tells us, when you want to see the absolute signature on reality, look at the word that encompasses everything from beginning to end and finishes with a cross. Ancient marks of protection, visualizing the first Passover. Building on this, the video points us to the book of Exodus to look at the physical marks of protection used during that event. Okay, let's picture the geometry here for a second as we follow the specific instructions given to the ancient Israelites to protect their homes from judgment. They were told to take the blood of a lamb and apply it to the left doorpost, the right doorpost, and then the horizontal upper lintel. Just mentally step back and look at the shape of what was being constructed on those ancient entryways. The source argues that anyone standing in front of that ancient doorway would see a distinct cross pattern functioning as a divine seal of protection. Sure, it wasn't a full cross reaching all the way to the floor, but the upper portion formed an absolutely undeniable cross shape. According to the channel, this blood functioned identically to the letter Tav, a literal mark of covenant protection declaring ownership and, ultimately, safety.
So you might be wondering, is this a one-off thing? Where else does this specific cross-shaped mark show up in ancient texts to protect people from judgment? The channel suggests that the Passover was actually part of a recurring structural pattern. Take the vision in Ezekiel 9, for example. Jerusalem is facing imminent destruction.
An angel is instructed to go through the city and save people by placing a mark on the foreheads of the faithful. And the literal Hebrew word used in the text for that protective mark, it's tav. The angel isn't just drawing a random scribble. The text literally says to place a cross-shaped tav on their foreheads. Just like the Passover doorway, this cross-shaped mark offers protection based solely on whose mark they bear. The channel also notes a mysterious, untranslated marker right in the very first verse of the Bible. In Hebrew, Genesis 1:1 contains a two-letter grammatical marker consisting of the first and the last letters of the alphabet, Aleph and Tav, placed right after the word created. The source reports that some ancient commentators interpreted this as the Creator placing his signature, the beginning and the ending cross-shaped mark, right at the dawn of creation. No way, right? It's literally woven into the first sentence.
The Alpha and the Tav, connecting the ancient seal to the New Testament fulfillment. Now, let's pivot to how the source seamlessly connects these ancient linguistic marks directly to Jesus Christ.
The video brings up Revelation chapter 1, where Jesus makes a monumental claim. He says, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." By claiming the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet, he is claiming to encompass the totality of reality, from creation all the way to the end of history. Now here is the really fascinating cultural translation. To a Jewish audience of that era, hearing Alpha and Omega immediately pointed back to their equivalent, Aleph and Tav. The channel emphasizes that Jesus wasn't just saying he's been around for a really long time. He was identifying himself as the Aleph and the Tav, the very letters that frame the word emet, truth, ending with that ancient cross-shaped seal. Furthermore, the source points out that Jesus' famous final words on the cross, "It is finished," translate from the Greek word tetelestai. Now, this wasn't just a dramatic exit line. It was an ancient accounting and legal term, meaning a debt is fully paid and a document is officially sealed. Stamped on ancient tax receipts and contracts, it denoted absolute completion. The source suggests that by declaring this, Jesus was speaking the ultimate Tav word. And the channel's central thesis really culminates right here. The explainer concludes this section by stating Jesus literally, physically embodied the final cross-shaped Tav to authenticate God's ultimate covenant. The argument is that the crucifixion wasn't some emergency backup plan. Rather, Jesus fulfilled an ancient, deliberate pattern by dying on intersecting wooden beams that perfectly matched the shape of the letter representing ultimate truth and completion. The ultimate seal. What does this ancient history mean for humanity today? Finally, the video transitions from all this amazing historical and linguistic analysis to a direct present-day application for the viewer. The source cites the Apostle Paul in Ephesians 1 to explain that believers are sealed today with the Holy Spirit. And this act carries the exact same ancient weight of absolute ownership and protection we've been talking about. Just like an ancient king's signet ring made a decree irrevocable, this modern spiritual seal means a person is fully authenticated and protected. It acts as a guarantee, echoing the exact historical function of the letter Tav. So, the crucial point the channel leaves us with is a stark dichotomy from the book of Revelation. They compare the mark of the beast to the seal of the living God. According to the analysis, in the end, there is no neutral ground. Everyone bears a spiritual mark of allegiance. You're either bearing the ancient, cross-shaped Tav of divine ownership and protection, or you're bearing a mark of allegiance to a doomed system. To wrap up this explainer, the source leaves us with a seriously profound final question. If this cohesive symbol, the shape of the cross, was always the plan, literally woven into the very fabric of language since the dawn of creation, whose ultimate mark will you choose to bear?